I am Leslie Duthie here in Montana, and today I am going to be talking with Sandra Elvsaas. She is in Alaska. Let me show you where in Alaska you're really truly at the top of the world.
I'm right across the bay from Homer. Homer is where the road ends. You have to take a ferry or a single engine 5-passenger plane. Or if you have your own boat, you can come across about 80 miles from Homer.
Basically, right here, earthquake that just happened here in the Aleutian Islands. I think that one was a 7 point or something.
7.4.
And then you also have the tsunami warnings too.
Oh boy. Yep.
Yeah.
11:30 at night, that thing goes off and it wakes you right up.
After having lived up there in Alaska myself, I almost missed the tremble of the earthquake because, as they said, there's one going off every 15 minutes somewhere in the state in Alaska. It's kind of hard for you to really get things available. What got you started in making dolls?
Well, it's been so long ago, I can hardly remember why I got interested. I sculpted in clay, that you have to put in a kiln, and I really enjoyed that. But when I retired, I know I did not want to have a big kiln in my house, and I didn't want to deal with the mud and the clay. So I was looking actually for something that was a little different, and I found polymer clay. I had been on eBay and I had seen these dolls because I was looking for fairies and stuff like that, made by some really amazing artists. Deb Wood was the first doll artist that I fell in love with her work. Let me see, Patricia Rose was the other one. And I think that was in 2000. I retired in 2005. So in the early 2000s, I was looking to have something to do after I retired that I could have a small income with. So that was something that I could do at home because I didn't want to be dragging my work out to the place where I could get it fired. Fit all the criteria I had, and I loved the little miniature work that I saw. I mean, it just influenced everything. I was excited about learning and excited about all the different things that you could do with polymer clay.
Did you go to classes to begin with? So you started right out with tutorials online?
Yes. Well, I bought Patricia Rose molds, and I was buying them while I was working because I knew that once I retired on Social Security that I would not be able to afford them. Found from those molds was I was not fond of working with molds because I wanted to do my own thing. I wanted to be able to pose them and use my own skills. So I think I had every mold she ever made. So I wanted it to be my own personal work.
So just for clarification, when you're saying Patricia Rose, I am assuming that you were talking working with porcelain because that's where I came across her molds. Is that correct?
No, these were press molds that you use with clay,
Okay.
polymer clay. I'm sure if you go on eBay and put in Patricia Rose molds for clay, they will come up because there is a lot of them out there and they're beautiful. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the mold. I just wanted to be able to put part of myself into my work. That really wasn't something that I could do easily with that. It was easier for me to sculpt from the wire out, add my own touch as I went, and understand and understood why and what I was doing. And I found that the first workshops that I took were Deb Wood, where you could learn the muscles and detail and posing. I took every class she offered because they are astoundingly good, well written, informative. I learned everything that I know and put into my work from those workshops I took. And I could never afford to go in person, so they were offered online. This is a workshop from Deb Wood, Children of the World. It's a larger piece. She has a way of teaching that just guides you right through what you're doing. And you're just learning so much along the way.
He's an interesting character.
This is a little elf, and I sent this one to Fairbanks. And here is my little elf all finished. This is probably one of my first ones. This is one of the later ones. I think she was entered in a competition on the International Art Doll. This one went to New Zealand.
Wow, that's shipping all over the world.
The shipping on that was amazing. This is a beginning, shows how I work. Those are Deb Wood wings, by the way. I love those. I love those wings. It was a great workshop. This is a class I took from Maria Saraceno, and this is her Christmas elf workshop. These are my heads for my elves. There's the elves. This is another workshop I took from Maria Saraceno. I think she's a Canadian artist, and I've taken a couple of workshops from her. This is from a mold. These ones are sleeping, but I can also put eyes in them, pose them sitting up, chatting with an old friend, I think is what I called it. Love this one. The fairy going dancing with her golden shoes.
Working with the Deb Wood series, different countries and stuff. Where did you progress to from there then?
I just love doing the realistic little fairies. And then I saw Dee Schiller, she's called the Odd Fae. She was offering this little, she had a tutorial on making faces in shells. I took it. I mean, it was an inexpensive tutorial. So I was making faces and shells, and they were so much fun. I mean, they were just easy and whimsical, and you never knew how they were going to turn out. Started doing that, and then my son saw me doing that. He was fishing out in the Gulf of Alaska on one of the boats, like the Time Bandit, Deadliest Catch boat. They were pulling up their pots, and in these pots were these kind of shells. They're called whelk shells. When they came up in the pots, because it was wintertime, the whelks that were inside would freeze to death. So they were dead anyway. So instead of throwing them back in, he threw them in a 5-gallon bucket and brought me like shells, and they're all different sizes. This guy, and you can see that the shell is pretty good size. But when he brought them to me, they were really stinky. So my whole house smelled like low tide, and everybody could tell when my son was back from fishing because my house smelled so bad, because I was busy boiling these big shells to clean them out. These are from like 70 fathoms. These are down deep in the Gulf of Alaska. Every time he came in for a couple of years, he would bring me several 5-gallon buckets of these. So I have lots in my shed. I have lots upstairs in my art room. I have them tucked here and there. And so I use them in what I'm doing. I was using Dee Schiller's face, which starts out like this. Faces start out small. And then I use those little 4mm eyes. This one's not finished. And here's a different kind of shell that comes up. It's a moon snail shell. Bake those and then put the head on the back, where these little tutorial only had the face in the opening of the shell. She sells that tutorial. I use wire in the neck to put the neck on. If you look, you can see that I have filled the inside of the shell with old dirty clay. I just work it in, and those become the shoulders to the little shell people. And then I use wire, sculpt the neck around, because that way I can pose the head and turn it, which gives them a little bit of character. And I put the back of the head on and put the neck in and put that into the soft clay before I bake it. So it's just a matter of steps, putting the ears on and the hands and posing that. So I just kind of took her tutorial, added to it, and I sold them on Etsy for a long time.
And I hear of so many different mixtures for the polymer clay. What did you end up using for yours?
I use Living Doll. It is, I think, real similar to Pro Sculpt. Deb Wood suggests a combination of different kinds of polymer clay. I find I don't have the patience to mix all that up. It's easier for me just to grab a 1-pound bar and start working. So that's kind of what I do. And so the last couple of years, I've just not really been doing as much as I want to do. And I'm hoping now that life will settle down and I can get right back to it, because I have a studio upstairs that's just full and waiting for me to come and start working again.
if it can't come in by airplane or boat, you can't really get your hands on it. You're well stocked up in your supplies, is what you're saying?
I'm always needing clay because my grandsons come and help me. They like to make things. I never tell them no. They work with my watercolors because I've taught watercolors. I've also taught working with clay. I've taught beadwork, leather work. I've taught a lot of things. I always let them work with the best materials because how will they ever know if they like working with it if they're not allowed to use material that actually does what they want it to do? I can see the frustration with painting on printer paper. Even though they're like 9 and 10 years old, I think they need to get that experience of working with good quality supplies, whether that's clay or watercolor or beads or leather. It just, whatever they're interested in, I try to encourage. That's my thing. I take every workshop and tutorial that I can afford. Deb Wood was my favorite. I have every one of hers, and I don't know how many she's done, but I have got volumes. Anyone who's interested in actually doing and learning, I would suggest that they just pick one of hers and do it and take it, because it's amazing when you come out the end. They are not simple. She requires that you work, but boy, when you come out the other side at the end, you will know. So at the end of any of her workshops, you will definitely be a better sculptor, will increase your knowledge. I just really recommend that.
I do too. In fact, it was just interesting because that's what I put out today for our blog, was to take advantage of the tutorials. Because as you just said, if you can't travel somewhere, that should not stop you from still achieving your dream of wanting to learn how to make dolls.
Any tutorial that you can afford, I would recommend that you take, because there are a lot of good ones out there. The 2 new ones, the phase tutorials,
Yeah,
those are excellent. They're wonderful.
resources and tutorials are a great place to start.
Exactly. I can't recommend them enough. There's videos on YouTube. This is just personal. I don't learn as well from videos as I do from printed tutorial, because I can open it up and study it. And I can work on them anytime, even when the electricity goes off and I have my generator or my lanterns going, I can still see. Whereas if I have a video, they're so easy to lose. If my computer crashes or my electricity goes down, I really don't have access to them. And that's when I really need access, because there's not much going on. I could probably take a nap.
Well, and you bring up another point there, because as you said, if you lose electricity, people really don't understand the lighting problem that's in Alaska. So what do you use in your studio?
I have a sad light it's a desk light that fits over the top of my work. I also have fluorescent 4-foot natural light, fluorescent lights. I think it's called full spectrum light, so I can see the color when I'm working on things, because color under one kind of light is different under natural light, is different under incandescent. You have to have the right kind of light so you can see and compare stuff that's going on that you're working on. You really need to look at all the angles. The light is really important. In Alaska, it's just dark all the time. In the winter, you get about 2 or 3 hours of daylight, and that's it.
You hear it, but you don't really believe it until you experience it.
And then now, when it's daylight all the time, it was midnight last night, and the sun was still, it was twilight now, because the days are getting shorter, but it doesn't get dark.
That was probably what blew me away more so, because I mean, I'm used to it being dark in the wintertime here in Montana too, but it was when it was daylight, clear until like 1 or 2 in the morning. I was just like, that was just it blew me away.
It's just a different way of doing the same thing that everybody else does. It's just a little different. They kind of call us the banana belt down here at the bottom of South Central. We have an ice-free port all winter. Our bay is open. Kachemak Bay and Seldovia Bay are open. That moderates our temperatures here. Although it still gets cold, it doesn't get as cold. It doesn't get as cold as Anchorage. Probably doesn't get as cold as Montana.
Do you also find being in the banana belt, more humidity? I mean, does that affect your clay or what you're working on?
Doesn't generally affect my clay unless we have a volcano. I'm surrounded like 3 volcanoes. Unless we have a volcano that goes off and there's ash, volcanic ash in the air, or if there's a forest fire and we have ash from the forest fire, then that you can't keep it out because it's so fine and it lands on everything. So you might as well just cover up your work and forget it for a while. No, the humidity doesn't usually bother me when I'm working. I know in the summer when it's hot, the clay gets too warm, but I don't think the humidity has anything to do with it. But we do get a lot of snow, nothing but rain for 2 months. This is the first sunshine we've had all summer because it has rained and rained and rained and fog and oh my gosh. Fairbanks, my sister keeps saying what we live in is an Arctic desert. And I go, you can't live in a desert. You have forest fires, for goodness sake. So I don't know what she was referring to. Maybe the amount of water or rain that they get, because they have had some incredible hot days. She's had sunshine all the last 2 months, and I've gotten none. She calls me about every day, and we compare our weather. That is a topic of conversation in Alaska.
So with your shell characters, their shells are pretty much their costuming. Where do you take your beading and leather work? Do you take some of that into your dolls as well?
I do. When I think it calls for it, I do beadwork on the costuming. Like when I'm doing a doll that has a full dress and the stomacher, the piece that fits in the front, would call for a little beadwork like flowers or something. Then I do that beadwork or beadwork on the skirt. I also do beadwork if I'm doing a headdress on them.
Do you have anything that influences your beadwork?
I worked for the Native Association here and I taught traditional native beadwork, applique and skin sewing, using all the traditional and the newer, more modern designs. So I taught basic beadwork to people.
What would be one of the tribes that you represented? Because I know that there's quite a few of them up there.
Here are Dena'ina tribe and the Athabascans up in Kenai, Soldotna. They're Dena'ina and Athabascan mixed. And some of them are Yupik here as well. Seldovia was originally settled by the native peoples and there was a tribe here, but the Russians came in and settled here as well. Being in a hunter-gatherer society, there are berries and fish, moose and bear, shellfish. So this was a place where people came to hunt, gather berries for the winter, put up their fish and smoke their fish, and then went back to their villages always. And then the Russians took the fish, the herring and the salmon, and shipped it back to Russia. Amazing melting pot of different tribes and different international whaling boats and fishing boats that came through here, settled. We have 2 Russian villages outside of Homer. One is Kachamak Silo and the other one is Nikolaus. They still wear the traditional dress and speak the Russian language. It's just a varied with all manner of customs because we have the Russian Orthodox Church. I think some of the services are done in Russian.
What kind of drew you to want to play with the fairies?
Well, I have just always been fascinated by fairies. When I was a little girl, I always had imaginary fairy friends that were around. It made my mother crazy, I'm sure. Just my grandmother told stories of the fairies in Ireland because she was Irish. Then my other grandmother was from Norway, so they have elves and fairies. Those were the stories I grew up hearing.
Have you always lived in Alaska?
Yes, and I, graduated high school and got married and all those kinds of things. I've never had the desire to leave. I love Alaska. I love this place where I live. I came to Seldovia in 1970 and just fell in love with it. I have lived here ever since.
You've got so much history and culture there too. Everybody should visit Alaska at least once in their lifetime. It's totally unique. I'd like to ask for a word of inspiration or advice that you would give to somebody else.
Just follow your dream. That's the thing. You have to follow your heart. If your heart is into making dolls, then that's what you should be doing. I wish that I had started sooner, although I was, making a living and paying bills, stuff like that. And now that I've retired, I have more time. Certainly, I would say follow your dream as much as you can.
I totally agree with you on that.
I do love making dolls and sculpting and playing in the clay. And that's just, it keeps my sanity during long winter nights. I don't necessarily sell everything that I make. My family dreads Christmas because everything I don't sell gets given as gifts.
That sounds like your family and my family are a lot alike.
Yeah, that's it. Just bring it to mom. She'll do something with it.
It's been lovely visiting with you, Sandee. I would call you Sandee because you're not Sandra. You're definitely a Sandee.
Yeah, I'm Sandee because my real name is Marie.
Okay, now I have to know why.
Let's see, my grandmother's name was Marie Ann. My mother's name was Marie Ann, and my name when I was little was Marie Ann. We all lived in the same house. They had to differentiate between us. My hair was light sandy colored, so they called me Sandee.
Oh, that's cool. Thank you, dear, for visiting with me. We'll see you again because we have a doll gathering group coming up soon too this month.
All righty.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.